Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about how Assad's Syria has fallen and answer your questions about it. The Syrian government has fallen. Assad has reportedly fled the country. Opposition forces have taken the capital. The Assad family has ruled the country since 1971. 24 of those years have been under Bashar al-Assad, who until recently was in power. So, what we're going to do now is provide a brief lay of the land, because this situation is likely to be a major component of the international table in the coming weeks, months, and probably years. So, this conflict has its origins in 2011, when a wave of pro-democracy rallies occurred across the region. The rallies were met with security clampdowns, which turned the uninvolved to sympathizer and sympathizer to active. There was some low-intensity stuff. Then in 2012, it had turned into an all-out civil war. To streamline the storyline, the media is currently using the placeholder term of rebels to describe forces opposed to Assad. And this is one of the big questions that has come in. Who are the rebels? There are multiple rebel groups and factions that are all opposed to Assad. Some of them often fight with each other, such as the Turkish-aligned groups fighting with the Kurdish groups. It's an absolute maze of groups. But the group that made most of the big gains recently was HTS. This is not a group the U.S. is on friendly terms with. There are already worries in some U.S. foreign policy circles that the U.S. may see a catastrophic success. That's a term that originated early on in the war when there was a concern that Assad's fall could lead to something even worse for the U.S. But right now, all of that is still completely unknown. There are still multiple armed groups in the country, and they may start fighting, or they may work out some arrangement. The fall of Assad is not the end of the story, but the start of the next chapter. But before the next chapter starts, let's get the lay of the land. Assad is widely believed to have fled the country, or at bare minimum, the capital. Rebel forces have been seen everywhere, from the presidential palace to state media stations to prisons where they're freeing comrades and so on. The Syrian prime minister has not fled and has said the government is, quote, ready to cooperate with any leadership the people choose. Shortly after making that statement, the prime minister was seen being escorted by rebel forces to the Four Seasons Hotel, where he is expected to hand over control of the government. Syria's state TV declared that Assad's government has fallen. Okay, now, on to the international poker game implications. Assad's fall is a huge blow to Russia's presence in the Middle East. The Kremlin and Assad cooperated on multiple levels. Expect to hear a lot about Port Tartus. Israel has deployed to the Golan Heights and has said they are not interfering with internal events in Syria. The Golan Heights is strategic high ground Israel took from Syria during the 1967 Six-Day War. Moving into this area is probably a precautionary move at this point. There have been questions about whether Israeli intel helped the rebels with this advance. There's no evidence of that. But a weakened Assad is in Israel's national interests. Iran is in a tight spot with this as well. It stands to reason that Iran would want to rebuild some of the non-state actors it supports. Syria would have been critical to many of those efforts. Iran's embassy in Syria was reportedly taken over by rebel forces. As far as the U.S. goes, the Biden administration said it's, quote, monitoring the situation closely. Trump said, the United States should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. Unfortunately for the president-elect, there are nearly 1,000 American troops in Syria. The U.S. is already involved and has been since before his first term. During his term, Trump actually made a series of controversial moves shaping U.S. involvement. That being said, Let it play out may be the smartest foreign policy take he's ever had or ever will have. To call the situation fluid would be an understatement even by this channel's standards. The people of Syria could see renewed fighting between rebel factions, or it could see a meeting of various factions that leads to peace, which after hundreds of thousands lost during the 13 years of conflict is what we should all be hoping for. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.